I'm Lisa Campbell, Director of the Barry Center for the Arts at Ramapo College of New Jersey. I'm excited to share the next episode of Made in Jersey as part of our Bringing Home Barry series. Made in Jersey was conceived to showcase artists from across the state, sharing new works in progress. Throughout this series, we hope to show you artistic concepts you may be unfamiliar with, and how artists go about creating and developing their work. Each of these pre-recorded presentations will be 20 to 30 minutes long, followed by a live chat with the artist where the audience can ask questions. Tonight, we feature poet Michelle Myers. In her performance memoir, Mudang Magic, Michelle Myers explores how words can hang on to grief and how memory can create a landscape of both loss and healing. Myers' performance plumbs the depths of memory and delves into the idea that sometimes, to know who we are, we have to retrace our steps. So sit back, relax, and enjoy her performance, and then join me for a live conversation with the artist.
I am lifetimes infinite, billion strong. I learned this song from the ancestral throng who within me danced a double helix. Feel this, they whip genetic hurricanes in my veins, gain perpetuity like a pair of cranes. Korean symbol of longevity, their bodies and spirits don't weigh heavy on me. I am who I am because of men like Yun Chun-hee, grandfather, one in a billion ancestor, who lived to prepare my destiny or my harmony. Shinde Sun, I don't need a reason. It's always a celebrate your ancestor season. Season me Korean, nothing else I'd rather be in this lifetime. It's my time to shine and pave the way for generations next to join me in pride, express for this mind, this body, this spirit fed X from blood to blood, a billion-gallon flow and fam to fam that span eternal through my Korean maternal line. I need to find my space, define my face in this ancestral embrace that is skin tight, but my skin fits me just right. And like a person who's lost her sight, I search the contours of my face for a trace of this or that ancestor who's melded into my skin forever. They're all there, my ancestral throng, for I am, we are, lifetimes infinite and billion strong. I love my mother. This is not an easy thing for me to say, nor is this something that my mother and I say to each other. But I do love her. And most of my life, I've waited to hear her say these words to me. I love you, Michelle. Long ago, I resigned myself to accepting the likelihood that I would never hear these words from my mother. I love you, Michelle. Then there came a point in my life where I asked myself this question: have I been listening? Maybe I love you doesn't always come out as I love you. I hear my mother's criticisms of me. I also hear her loneliness, her unhappiness. Those rare moments when my mother sounds happy are during her remembrances about growing up in Korea. My mother didn't have an easy life in Korea. Her father, my grandfather, was killed in the Korean War. His wallet and watch were all that was found of him. My grandmother remarried, and my mother and her siblings were pushed around among relatives. Even though my mother felt abandoned and unloved by her mother because she remarried and started a new family, even though she witnessed my aunt, her sister, being beaten until she lost an eye to a fireplace poker wielded by a callous, violent uncle, though she did not grow up within a family nucleus, she still had magic in her Korean life which sustained her. There was magic in the countryside where silkworms were cultivated, sharing rooms with their human farmers. Their cocoons spun with the precious fibers, their bodies extracted during silk harvesting, cooked and eaten as a snack. Silkworm magic. For my mother, her escape from death as a young woman was also magic. Struck down in her early 20s with an illness that doctors could not diagnose nor treat, my mother turned to a mudang to heal her. Korean Sha woman magic. Laying under a white sheet, my mother could only hear the mudang weave her magic through her prayers, chants, songs, and she could only hope that its threads would allow her to emerge from beneath her sheet, reborn. She emerged, inexplicably recovered from her illness, and lived. I hear my mother's stories. In them, I hear her nostalgia, her regret, her loneliness, her happiness, her longing. In them, I hear her, I love you, Michelle. By making her stories my stories and my stories her stories, I say, I love you, Mom. Hear our story. Invoking heritage, I lay under a white sheet and enter a space open to the melding of memory and imagination. My mind's eye conjures Mudang magic. Mudang chants, and a country hunt materializes. Keeper and cultivator of silkworms, mounds of their wrestling, writhing, wriggling masses on shells lining the hut emit hungry urgency. Leaves are given, they eat. They eat, fatter and fatter they grow. Mudang dances, but silkworms' movement slows. They tire, and the wrestling slackens. They grow weary, and the writhing slows. They seek sleep, and the wriggling ceases. Overcome by the lullings of slumber, silkworms weave the stuff of dreams in which to blanket themselves. Mudang prays. Underneath the sheet I hear her voice and feet rise and fall as she sings and dances to the spirits to save my soul. A chicken chatters anxiously, then falls into neck-wringing silence. Mudang entreats. Mudang blesses. The sheet is lifted. I arise to a new life, silkworm harvested and spirit renewed, grasping the threads of Mudang magic. I wipe the words from my mind like tears off my face because this history hurts. And because I never listened, I now cry while my mother's tears fall like rain over her wasted life. So as not to waste my life, I will tell my daughter that hypocrites give birth to perversions which keep me dancing on moonlit rooftops in search of Asian American history. Manufacturing my footfalls into cloven hooves, sharpshooters undercover shout, "Yellow devil," and set me in their sights. But baby girl, I be nimble and I be quick, I blow out the flame on America's version of our history. So I want you to listen. Before we believe our unbound feet are the devil's cloven hooves and our stride is clipped, I want you to listen. Before our history is buried on riverbanks instead of on mountaintops, I want you to listen. Before we drown under drenching downpours by the river's edge, our mouths open wide because we have croaked, I want you to listen. Haunted by fears of death, I battle scorpion beings who promise me heaven, then give me backhanded handshakes that sting me into consciousness. I am relieved to be awake, but I am also angered to the bone, and marrow deep this rage I will intone and make it all my own, so I decapitate demons disguised as do-gooders defiant. I play hopscotch on the heads of heavenly hosts, and I piss on the hands that try to hold me, that try to control me, and I will bite those hands if I have to, because I object to indifferent hands that remotely control our lives. Press rewind, and those hands dissect our spines. Those hands menace us from society. Those hands sign us off in Americanese, but I don't speak that language. Instead, I spit word darts of, "Ya, isang no ma," and kiss my ass, because baby girl, I be nimble and I be quick. I relit the flame on Asian America with the force of my fists. So I want you to listen. I want you to listen to me and learn to say with conviction, I'm too proud to beg. Fuck you. I'm Asian American. The ache to die in the place that she had lived began in her feet. This yearning for crossing a threshold that she could call her own. And her feet bore the ache down deep as she walked through life searching for a place to die. But this place could not be the land in which she was born, for restless feet had carried her from post-war Korea, fatherless and therefore nameless. A might as well had never been born existence, on child-sized feet that bore witness to moving spaces to which she had no connection. And when the sky finally fell under the heavy hand of a cruel uncle and heartless stepfather, her bare feet carried she and her younger sister along suspiciously shifting mountain roads, seemingly filled with growling horangi, tigers, to stand on a train platform to Seoul, singing songs for candy and sleeping on benches, trusting the kindness of passing strangers to get them on the right train to somewhere other than here. But the sisters' feet did not bear the same kind of aching, and so retrace footprints and retreat, with an exhaling breath reserved for a resigned return to the only place the sister had ever known. But since she could not call this home, she let her sister go and kept moving forward, ever yearning. I want to die in the place that I have lived. But knowing that she had not yet lived, her naked feet bore her across the fluid earth, seeking refuge in solid ground that they, her feet, could root into. And it was this primal connection to the land that made her feet thirsty and therefore impatient, and so they clung to the first bit of rocky ground to stretch underfoot. And being tired and lacking the defiant, restless spirit she once had, she relented to her aching feet and set down roots in this cold soil, almost barren of water and light. Yet she willed herself to stretch upward and outward, and a home in Kearney's Point, New Jersey grew from her fingertips. And beneath the encircling canopy of her arms, a dandelion daughter and a dandelion son managed to spring from the precarious soil. And as the seasons came and went, the winds ever relentlessly pushed and moved the dry, unreliable dirt around her, eventually exposing her cracked, brittle, malnourished, and long-forgotten feet. When the dandelion daughter and son bore witness to this, they cried salty tears that only made her feet more root-bound. And as the winds howled heartlessly around them, they tried to dig her out, but soon understood that she would only leave this place if she were ripped up or cut away. So in the time they had left, they massaged her aching feet as best they could, until the winds became too powerful, and the dandelion sun blew away on wispy seas that wandered aimlessly on precocious air currents. The dandelion daughter watched her brother until he was out of sight, then turned to she and pleaded in desperation, "Please, please, just pull up your feet and walk away." But even as she heard her dandelion daughter's words and felt the land beneath her crumbling away from her aching feet, all she knew was what she had always known. I want to die in the place that I have lived. And with that whisper, she blew her dandelion daughter away with the hopeful wish that wispy seeds would find firm footing on solid ground somewhere other than here. 높고 높은 하늘이다 마주하지만 나는 높은 게 또 하나 있지. 나후시고 기로시는 어머니 안에. I answer my cell phone when I see it's my mom. Misha. I can tell by the way she says my name. Something is wrong. My name, unpronounceable for her. The vowels moon bouncing on her tongue until they lose balance and fall over, and the consonant sound that would make her English stand upright. The L's, forever out of reach. Misha. My mother is dying. Cancer of the blood, failing kidneys, broken spirit, homeless ghost, all are her ailments. She calls me on my phone because she doesn't have the strength to call to my dad, who spends most of his time downstairs. Much of her life must have felt as though she were always out of earshot. Misha. I often wonder what my mom thinks when she says my name. I also wonder if this is where her frustration with me begins, at her inability to say my name, mother-to-daughter bad connection, because she gave me a foreign name that she cannot pronounce. Misha, my name, chosen but not chosen, chosen because it was given but still a derivative. Michael, the name of the ambulance driver on the military base in Seoul who rushed my mother to the hospital through a raging blizzard just in time to give birth to me. When my mother's labor pains started, my father told my mother to wait until the football game, probably the Super Bowl, was over. This ambulance driver held my mother's hand as she screamed in pain, me pushing out into the world, refusing to wait any longer. When they got to the hospital, as she was being wheeled off of the ambulance, she asked him his name. Michael. I'm going to name my baby after you. But I was born a girl. Misha. My brother, born 1 year, 5 months later, given the name Michael. Michael. My mother says my brother's name in almost perfect English. Misha, Michael. When my brother and I were little, my mother wrote our names in Korean on our Christmas presents so that when we woke up extra early on Christmas morning and snooped through the gifts under the tree, we wouldn't know which ones were ours. I remember how her slender back would bend over the gifts under the lighted tree, reading what only she could, and how we were breathless with anticipation until she placed our gifts directly in our hands. My name, written phonetically in Korean. I wonder if this is how my mom sees my name in her head. Or does she see only my face? Or maybe she sees nothing at all. Misha, my name, written the way my mom said it, how I heard it all my life. I hated the sound. Now I save my mom's voice messages so that I can hear her say my name long after she is gone.
Hey, Mr. Shimi, I just, called to see you need help or not. If you home, call back. Bye. Hey, how come you're not answering phone? Huh? Hello, happy birthday. I just called to say happy birthday. Hey, it's me. I just wondering how's everybody doing. Alright, call me you can. Bye. Call me you can. Bye.
birds are loudest. Something about her feels like Mary. She needs strength, just like anybody else. So when I see her in the kitchen, I offer her my help. She wakes up in the morning when the birds are loudest. Something about her feels like Mary. She needs strength, just like anybody else. So when I see her in the kitchen, I offer her my help.
You've been lovely to me, like a mother to me, like no other to me. Lovely to me, lovely to me. I got an immigrant mother.
Lovely to me,
An immigrant mother.
you're more than me,
An immigrant mother.
like no other than me.
Lovely to me, lovely to me.
It's in the woman's hands. That's where I see it. The way that her hands glide towards the needle, her index fingers pushing just past the bobbing silver glint of it, guiding the fabric, the thread, securing and shaping. And then she holds up the finished face mask. So easy. When the camera focuses on the woman's hands and not her face, I see my mom's fingers. If my mom were still here, she would have sewn face masks. If she weren't too tired from dialysis or chemo, she would have gone to the downstairs closet, the one behind the stairs, dragged out her boxes and boxes of fabric, and folded herself into a space of picking, cutting, and sewing. The shadows on the tiled linoleum floor of the downstairs TV room would have gotten longer and longer until she felt as though she had perfected a pattern and had created a face mask that could only be deemed better than professional. But she's not here anymore. Her sewing machine languishes in my garage, broken, dusty, vacant. And I hoard her fabric in boxes in my garage and basement, fabric that won't be pillows or curtains or blankets ever again. My mom used to make designer wedding gowns at a sewing factory in Salem, New Jersey called Maryland Dress Company, which closed down about 30 years ago. Having no education when she came here from Korea, her only marketable skills were sewing and being a fast learner. She took great pride in being the best at her job. I often look at an old picture I have of my mom, young and beautiful, sitting at her sewing machine at work, the queen of the seamstresses. At the end of the news segment, there's a close-up shot of the woman's hands as she holds up one of her homemade face masks, and my chest feels hollow. It hits me that the woman's hands are not my mom's because she doesn't have a crooked fingernail on her right index finger. My mom's fingernail was cloudy and crooked where a sewing needle had gone through her finger at work. It sewed right to the bone. Her fingernail grew back deformed and crooked. Cricket, she used to say. No, not my mom's fingers. I wear a face mask I made from a folded pink and white unicorn bandana with rubber band ear straps.
Hello, world.
world, you know who I am. I'm just an angry Asian girl whose soul is on the mend, calling out to you with no intent to offend, but can't help asking, a foe or a friend, hoping in the process never to be lost again, as I descend into the depths to embrace the fight, ascend through space to be bathed in moonlight. I know all's right when I can finally say this is the first day of my life, and I feel so at home in this moment, so I closely hold it till it pulls me into focus. Then I fold it into my spirit to forever be near it. Hear it again when life's at its worst and it hurts and I wonder what the trouble's really worth. I'll just listen to the earth and ponder this verse. Know my self-worth is a never-ending search for discovery of the deepest parts of me. And then maybe I'll catch your hand trying to hitch your ride as I drive on by to leave their lives behind. Yelling all the time, you must have thought I was blind, but nice try to heist our nice life. Christ, why would we be enticed by your hollow white lies when we can fly right on by, right on by. We're on our way through the world again, sending out this message about where we've been. We're on our way home, certain now we'll never be lost again, never be lost again, never be lost again.